Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome to Toyco. If you're a returning viewer, well, hey, thank you. I'm glad you came back. So today's gonna be a fun one. For all of you that have been following the channel, you might notice that the rec room is a little bit different. So move some things around a little bit to make it a little bit more of a flow. And it's really because I wanted to centralize the tank a little bit more and kind of get some of the workout equipment out of the way. And it's because there's gonna be some big things coming for that tank soon. But if you notice right over here, some big things that are happening right now involve some cinder blocks, some lava rocks, and a bag full of PVC parts. Now, what do all of those things have in common? Well, they're all going towards one project. So let's go ahead, let's pop into the fish garage, and let's see what exactly it's gonna all be about. Okay, so everyone's doing really good. The top angels are actually sitting on a clutch of fry right now. Puffer looks like he ate the worm that I fed him earlier, and all the tanks are doing good. We've got a beautiful clutch in the convict tank. Everything is going good. But these are kind of just here, these stock tanks, and they've been here for almost a year. And by here I mean in the garage itself, because these were the first things I made. Before we even had tanks in this house, we went out and we got these stock tanks, and I took the spray foam insulation and I made the 3D design inside of it. I painted it. I even cut out and custom installed a plexiglass panel there. And as you may know, plexiglass does not connect with silicon, so I had to get creative, and instead of using silicone, I had to use silicone and some other things like Flex Seal, what's it called? The liquid Flex Seal on the outside. But I did it all, and it ended up working out fine, and it holds water. But then back here, you might notice that there's some cut PVC pipes, because originally I was going to hook these up to some what's it called? Just more pipes and have a air manifold system, not manifold, but air uplift tube. That's what I'm looking for. There was gonna be an air uplift tube that was gonna take it from here up and over. If you've seen Master Breeder Dean's video on a muck bucket, that was gonna be what I used. It wouldn't have ended up how I needed it to be. So now what I've done is I had these, and I was like, okay, let me make a sump. So then I had the sump kind of on the same level. It all was working off of water level, but then the pump that I had would push water into the system, but it would push water into the system faster than it was getting into it. So it kind of had this like level. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to raise these stock tanks up. I am going to, as you can see, I've already drilled the hole. I get the bulkheads in tomorrow. I'm going to make another bulkhead, and the first thing we're actually going to do is I'm going to cap off those those bulkheads and PVC pipes down there with some caps. But we're going to raise this up, and then we are going to fill these with the lava rock. So I'm going to put 2 bags in each, or as much as I can in each. That'll be all of the biological filtration. There will also be some other filtration as well. This foam that's in here is also going to be a bunch of surface area for beneficial bacteria. So it's just going to be awesome. And the paint that I use is Krylon Fusion, of course. It's the paint that I use in everything. It is aquarium safe, and I painted this months ago. So yeah, it's cured for sure. So yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna raise up the stock tanks onto the cinder blocks and see how it looks from there. And if you've been following the channel, you may also know that those are eventually gonna go on top of it. So I'm only gonna put 2 cinder blocks high, so it'll only be about to there, of course, minus the wood, but it'll be about 2 cinder blocks tall. And then I'm gonna go ahead and from there, see and start planning out that section. Who knows, if I'm feeling generous, it'll all be in one video, but probably not. So don't keep hopes up, but it's gonna have its own like racking system on top of these, but I want to focus on these first. I want to get them going, because as soon as I get these going, I can put the bigger tilapia into here, start that cycle, and help these systems get cycled, so that way I can eventually move the tilapia into the aquaponics system. But then this aquarium is going to be open for the shrimp system that I want to put in here. So yeah, the faster we get this going, the happier I'm gonna be. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna get some stuff out of the stock tanks, raise them up. Yeah, just look right at my clavicles. Great cinematography. But we're gonna go ahead and raise them up onto the cinder blocks and take it from there. But I'm stoked. I'm glad to finally be getting this project done. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So we've got it set up where we've got the 2 cinder blocks on one side, 2 cinder blocks on the other side. Yes, there's a little bit of overhang on some things, but I think it'll be fine, especially with how the stock tank is all set up. And then we do have the sump right underneath it. So what I'm gonna work on now is I'm gonna work on getting this other one up, but I'm also gonna work on capping off these PVC pipes that are in the back, and then working on rinsing out the lava rock that we have that's going to go into the sumps, so that way as little amount of, not contaminants, but the same idea, like particulates, that's the best way to put it, as little particulates as possible are going back into the system. I cannot run this system today because, again, don't have the what's it called, the oh my gosh, the bulkhead. You think after searching it for 30 minutes trying to find one locally, but I don't have the bulkhead quite yet, so we're going to be waiting on that. But in other news, Plecos are looking good. These guys are looking good. The Angels. Went ahead and did a little bit of cleaning recently, kind of messed with the floaters, and they're growing underneath each other in a couple of places. Now granted, that is where I had to make a little portal to get in there, but the angelfish are looking good. Just look at how chunky that one's head is. So you'd think from a slender fish, you'd want them slender, but the beefier they are, the better they are. I believe that's the male and that one's the female, just because that one grew so fast and it's already bigger than the other one. But you'll also notice a lot more roots coming in, and I did trim back the roots on the pothos, but the, what are they called? The frog bit. I ended up putting far more frog bit in here, you'll notice. And the reason that there's so much more frog bit in here is because I took the frog bit out of the axolotls aquarium because it wasn't putting down roots, because there's not a bunch of nitrates in there and I don't dose with fertilizers. So I'm just gonna be letting them sit in here, letting them repopulate, because as you can see from that little guy, they're already starting to repopulate. Some melting, which is expected, especially from the ones that I moved over. And then these free plants that I got, they're doing okay. They're succumbing to a little bit of algae, but they're doing pretty okay. This one's doing all right. That one, who knows? Those are doing good, but the Val is doing good. Overall, I'm loving this aquarium, and I will definitely be using a lot of these plants in an upcoming project. So you guys got to stay tuned for that. But I'm going to go ahead and continue to work on this stuff so that way it can be done. I do want to do a little bit of a fill test today since the bulkhead stops right there. And I'm going to kind of fit some things together, work on the PVC piping a little bit and all the plumbing. But yeah, I'm excited. So let's go ahead and get this going and take it from there. Yet again, another semi-late night in the fish room. It's only 8 o'clock, so it's not late for me, just didn't think I'd be in the fish room this long. And it's just because I didn't actually get a chance to clean this as fast as I thought. But yeah, that's what a 27-gallon tote with a bunch of lava rocks in it looks like. So I do have the pump in there. I obviously need to get a new pump hose because that is far not long enough. But the one that I use to do saltwater, that kind of has a longer version of this. And I think something that size, which when I go back to Lowe's tomorrow, I'll be able to grab 2 of those, or maybe just one. I might be able to repurpose that one. The hose itself is a little bit gross, but I can probably just clean it out. But we got both of these up and running. So this one's good to go. It's got the sump down there. And then this one has all 4 bags. Yeah, I grossly underestimated what 4 bags would be able to do. I really thought I would be able to get both sumps out of 4 bags, but not the case. But we still have the bulkhead fitting there, so that's gonna be where it routes in from back here and down into the sump. And then I just will run cabling and everything to make sure we're all good to go. The bulkheads arrive on Sunday, turn back on, yeah, so we'll get the bulkhead, we'll be able to install that, and this system will be up and running and be good to go. So tomorrow we'll go back, we'll get some more for the pump and everything. I do want to talk about how I'm going to be doing the plumbing real quick. So something else that I got from Lowe's were these ball valves. So what I'm thinking about doing for the plumbing is I'm going to run these ball valves on the actual plumbing itself. If you don't know what a ball valve is, you see how it's open? Well, if I turn the valve, you'll see that it closes slightly. So the beauty of that is I can go ahead and actually like tune how much of the water is going through into the sump itself. So that way I can regulate. I can also do the same thing. It's not a DC pump, it's an AC pump, but it does have a little bit of flow regulator. So if I need to turn it up, turn it down, or whatever the case might be, that I can. The beauty of this system is it's a overflow system. So it's not like a weir system or a overflow system like on the salt water where the water goes into the top, down, up, and the pressure makes it go. This is just a straight, oh, the water level's here, I'm gonna crash down the pipe basically. So I should not have to have a big worry about that. But the benefit is that with the ball valve, I'll be able to cement everything together except for the part that connects to the ball valve and right underneath it. So if at all need be, I can just go ahead and crank that. And worst case scenario, if anything were to catastrophically fail, then what would end up happening is if it were to catastrophically fail, the worst that would happen is that pipe breaks free, the sump drains into the tank, and then anything in the sump, because it can't go down that overflow. So because the hole for the overflow is low enough, it'll get past and it'll run over a little bit. But I mean, that's worst case scenario, and it's in a garage, so it's not the worst thing in the world. I've definitely spilt some water in here time and time again. So again, we're getting that set up, but we'll get the parts in, we'll get everything situated. Tomorrow I'm gonna go to Lowe's, get more lava rock, get some, the cabling. Oh my gosh, extension cables. So I'm gonna get an extension cable, a power strip, be able to plug all this in, because I need to be able to plug in 2 lights, 2 pumps, and potentially some heaters as well. So yeah, I need all the right stuff, but we'll keep it going. We'll keep working on it. Okay, so things are looking good. Another late night in the fish room, but things are looking good. So you already saw I think you saw the rocks. Who knows at this point, because it's been a couple of days, but the rocks are there. The most important thing though is I did get the new 10-foot pipe, the vinyl tubing, so that's perfect. We're good to go on that end. And then this one is all good to go. That tubing used to be in that 75. It was for saltwater water changes, and it was because I was using it from that 75 to pump up into the other 75, but I don't necessarily need that. So it's got a little bit of a yellow to it, but I've cleaned it and it's just kind of just yellowed the piping. Sat well over 24 hours in a hot chlorinated tub. Really, honestly, it sat for 48 hours and I refilled the tub to the point where it would cover this twice. So hot, and the light decided to turn off, so that's fun. But the other one, it's not exactly pulled out, so let me go ahead and pull it out. But the other one is doing just as fine. And by doing just as fine, I mean it's covered with lava rocks. So I just have to reattach that tube. But the most important thing is that I got in the bulkheads. So these finally came in. So these are going to go where that hole is, and the same thing on the other side. And it's going to be how it connects to the sump. And of course, drop it. But basically, I ordered them, and the day that I ordered them meant that they'd get here on a Sunday. And I don't have an Amazon truck in the area for all deliveries. Some, yes, but most go through USPS. So I get it on a Sunday. Sunday is priority in Amazon. Sunday tends to run late, so it's 8 o'clock in the fish room, and I'm going to be working on some bulkheads. But I want to try and get them on and situated today, so that way I can hopefully fill test and start getting these up and running. So I'm going to get the bulkheads on, and then the next thing after the bulkheads, and if you guys are longtime subscribers, and you guys probably have seen this before, and if you're not, again, welcome. But let me get it out of the corner because I'm finally using it. This netting. So this netting was actually on a 75-gallon from, oh gosh, well, it's the original 75-gallon, but months ago, nearly a year ago, we had it because we're gonna have goldfish in that tank eventually, and we'll be moving the Oscars over to one of these stock tanks. But we want goldfish in that tank, and with the goldfish, what we want to be able to do is she wanted to be able to kind of reach her hands in, and the glass that we were given, which is actually up on that 55, was kind of like it was cracked up, not exactly looking the best, so we didn't exactly use it, and it's kind of coming in handy for that tank, of course. But when it comes to just overall, it was kind of just we didn't like it, so we went ahead and put the netting over it. But what this netting is going to do is it's going to allow me to make a custom lid for this aquarium, and the other one, of course. But how we're going to attach it is through these little command strips that basically, not those, are these it? Yes. So it worked really well on the 75, but the adjustable hooks, so yeah, each hook can hold, I don't know, holds half a pound. So it's just enough strength for me to put it over. So if the fish hits the net, maybe it'll pop something, but it would have to jump multiple times, and it's just, I don't think it's going to be really an issue. So we're going to go ahead and net it. It's the best way, in my opinion, that we can actually put a lid on this without having just a huge polycarbonate lid. But if you had a huge polycarbonate lid, it's like, imagine that lid, but here and huge. It's like you wouldn't be able to see it. And yes, I did install these panels, but I still want to be able to see down and like look at whatever's in there. But yeah, we'll get to it though. I'll stop talking. We'll install the bulkheads and we'll take it from there. Okay, so new day and quick update for you all. So basically what's happening is this is all good to go. I am gonna move and play with this a little bit just for happenstance, but basically I went ahead and I dry tested them, and I'm gonna go ahead or I dry fit all of the PVC pipes. And as you can see from the water on the floor, that's what happens when you dry test the pipes. And what I mean when I say dry test is none of these are cemented together. But basically, I think what I'm gonna do, and I had some extra cinder blocks luckily sitting around so I could do it with this one, and I'll just go pick up a few more for the other one, but I'm gonna go ahead and put some cinder blocks in front of the stock tank as well, because I'm not going to need to access, just for context, that's what it looks like from the front. I'm not gonna need to access that 24/7. So the extra structural support of having that underneath the front, especially if I move these back a little bit, it does mean that I don't have immediate access to the sump, but that's gonna be completely fine anyways. So that is that. And yeah, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and drain these and fit some pipes together, and we'll take it from there. And yet another update. So we finally have the netting going on. Now it's not done yet. I had to actually run out and go get more of these. But as I showed, I believe in the last clip, these are just the adjustables from Command Strip. And specifically, because they do have a couple of different versions of adjustables, they are the ones, if I could get one of these out, that'd be cool. They are the ones that look like this, that have the small. They also have kind of a bigger flat clip one. Now the reason I like the small ones is because I can do things like this a little bit easier, where it's this corner section, so that way when I need to take this off, I can put some tension on it, pull it, and bring it off. Because of course, in order to get the fish in there, and also to do specific water changes and things like that, I will need to be able to actually pull on these, pull on the tabs, and get them out. Now I am going to go around and clean up certain sections of it. I need to put one more over here, and then I need to do that side. This is temporary, and we all know how long temporary things last here at Tawaiko from time to time. But when I say that, basically what I'm referring to is what I eventually want to do is I eventually want to get something on this netting that basically covers the entire, whatever thickness this is, it's probably like 1.25 inches of this trim and have it kind of just weighted and have it sit on top, and then in key parts be able to kind of clip, because there is, as you can see, there's a little bit of a lip here, so be able to like clip it underneath or something to that capacity. Maybe even have like a little nodule and then have like elastic on here that I can just like clip onto this. But I don't know exactly how I want to do that quite yet. Maybe using some kind of like screen mesh, or not mesh, but like the stuff that you put the screens into and then you spline it in, and there's options. We have options. But basically, yeah, this is how it is so far. So I just need to finish this up. I have spray foamed and spray painted kind of the entry points on both sides. And I will say it looks, just from the lighting, it sticks out a lot more on camera because of what's being picked up. And I do need to go over it with a couple more layers of green and then also kind of sprinkle in the brown as well. But yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm just glad that it's finally getting set up. I ran it overnight, as I talked about in the last clip. This one was fine. This one was running the sump dry a little bit, but I went in there and I just adjusted the flow on the pump, and everything's good to go. So now we just have to keep getting it set up. I might paint these black also. That's kind of like a thought I had. I might spray paint them black. But again, it's temporary, so you know, who knows, but temp still needs to look good. But yeah, we'll finish it up. Once again, it's way too late in the fish room. It's like 11:30 right now, but we've got them both set up. So right now we've got this one. I just finished it up with all of the command strips. That one was finished before. So because I did the painting and the spray foam installation, all of that today, today being Monday, I'm going to let it sit completely until Tuesday. And because it's going to be later at night, I'm just going to wait, and Wednesday morning we are going to pick this back up by me filling this up. And I actually need to clean the sponge filters both in there and in there. And those fish obviously are big enough to not fit in that hole or in that hole, because those are inch wide PVC. Well, inner diameter 1 inch, outer it's like 1 1/4 or something to that capacity. But yeah, so we'll be able to use some sponge filters, squeeze it in here, get all that yucky goodness into the water and start circulating, especially when it goes down to there. But naturally, like all things, as soon as I got done with this, I thought of a great idea, because earlier, and I joked about this, actually, I joked about this on a call with somebody, but not in video. I wanted to hang this so that way there was a drip loop for everything going onto it. And yeah, it's right next to the water, but what, you know, this isn't its permanent spot. I just needed to hang it to do some tests. So I was joking about using a butane lighter, but then what I did is I actually went and got the butane torch and I heated up the front and I, you know, nailed it in, and it melted into the actual thing itself, and, you know, it's pretty solidly in there now. I have smaller nails. I have a bunch of them. What I thought about doing was actually heating them up with the butane torch and then kind of nailing these in at tension and having this constantly be at tension, and then up at the front cutting a certain section, and then maybe making something to bind it together, like some clips, and then clip it onto like this, so that way I could easily just pull tab and pull it up. I don't know. I'm workshopping it. I like the nail idea. I just want a way to easily take it off to get in and do some maintenance, but also a centralized location where I could put my arm in to both sides. But enough of that. We'll let it sit and pick it back up.
Big brain moments are happening live and in person at Toigo. So when you put pressure on something and it doesn't have a brace, things tend to bow, which in a glass aquarium would be very, very bad. In a stock tank, they're basically built to do that. If you don't know what a stock tank is, just at its core, it's for feed or water or something to go into for typically farm animals. So these stock tanks would be used for like cattle. You fill them up with water, the cattle come, they drink out of it, right? Super simple. It's even got a valve at the bottom that you can open up. We've completely sealed that valve, so on and so forth, right? So, my retroactiveness ended up being a little bit of my downfall. Let me turn this around and explain what I mean. Well, first and foremost, they're both live. So when I say they're both live, they're not cycled, but they're running. So if you could see, there's surface agitation, a little bit less on this one because of where the tube is going, and I still need to cut these tubes down to size. This one has a lot more agitation because the pipe is closer to the surface and it's hitting right into the inlet, but they are both live. There's a little bit of water just from some overfilling situations, but as you can see, there's a little bit of a bow to it, which again is not inherently bad, but it pops off all of the clips because the clips were put on there before. Now, that's not necessarily an issue because what I can do is those attachables or whatever they're called, they come with extra pads. And I've had 3 boxes over the course of, having all of these tanks. So they come with 14 attachables and then I think 30 reattachable strips. So I can take these off and I can reattach them, but I think this is a perfect opportunity to take the rest of this meshing, which this is just bird net, which I guess could also be chicken netting, as they are birds, but I think I'm going to layer it back on top and I'm going to try the hot nail approach of stretching it out and then putting nails through the actual plastic like I have done with this right here. And again, now that this is set up, I literally just got this one filled. I'll probably end up moving this to somewhere a little bit more let's say safe to say the least. I think instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this actually over here, and then instead I'm going to run, because I have 2 of these, I'm going to run the extension from here over to here. But I'm actually really glad that I did this because it's the idea that I had for this being there. So I think it's awesome. But again, things are happening, things are going. Another one literally just popped off as I was walking by. And lastly, what we're gonna do next once I get all this situated, I just put this in here, so I want to give it some time to run the dechlorinator through. But this murky bucket of muck is where I waited and I cleaned out some of the sponge filters, and I'm going to throw the muck into the tanks to hopefully start the jump cycle. There's some differing opinions on if Mulm is something that can help jump cycle a aquarium, and do I think Mulm by itself would be very beneficial? Yeah, I think so. I think if I just took a handful of Mulm and threw it in here, it would have beneficial bacteria and it would have things breaking down for the bacteria to eat on. So obviously that would be something that's beneficial. Do I think that Mulm by itself would be beneficial? No. I think you have to have the beneficial bacteria, which of course with a sponge filter, it's kind of all over the place, so you're going to knock some off. But needless to say, I'm going to dump that all in there to jumpstart the cycle. So this should be really the last update for this video, and then we'll just let them cycle. And I will be getting heaters as well. So I will be getting heaters to put into the sump, just some Eheim heaters with a kind of a shell on them, a PVC shell like I did with the one in the 75. But I will be doing that just as an in case and kind of a backup. But until then, let's get this situated. Next time when you get brought back, the stuff will be dumped in there and the netting will be put on top with nails and be situated. So, almost there. Okay, so yeah, this is gonna be the last little bit, just to update on the last little parts of this all. So basically, where we're at currently is one of them is basically set up. So I'm gonna go ahead and just turn it around, whoop, and this is what we're rocking with. So, like we talked about, I went ahead and took off all the clips and I'm slowly replacing it with nails. And this is actually a really good place to show because I left these out a little bit. And basically how it works is these nails go all the way through. And let me go ahead and frame it up there. You can see it. Goes all the way through to the other side and locks this in place from 2 different angles. Kind of locks it in place from this side, but mostly locks it in on the other side. And that is set. So that's good to go there. And then I went ahead and I zip tied the tube. Now I did keep it
at its 10-foot length, just in case I want to play with it. But for the time being, this is going to be what it looks like, where it comes up and around. And yeah, once we get things cleaned up, it'll look a little bit better. But obviously this isn't done. We're going to put, of course, the 10-gallon rack on top and get that all situated. So yeah, that's going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be good to go. And again, no water. Like if we travel over here, floor's dry. It's a little bit wet from the other overspills. That's still a little wet. There's a little bit of moisture underneath there, but again, it's from other things. So yeah, all in all, it's doing pretty good. And yes, I know this is still here. I'm going to move this over there in 5 seconds. But last thing that I did want to show and kind of end it all out with is I've got the bucket of muck that's going to jumpstart this aquarium. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put you right here, and you get to see the bucket of all the disgusting muck getting put right into the aquarium. So of course, this is going to help with the beneficial bacteria and all the grossness, and the water's going to be beautiful. And this is probably going to overfill it a little bit, but hey, that's fine. Oh, that is so gross. Yeah, just all that muck, all that great beneficial bacteria and ammonia. I'm sure I'm going to be really happy about that. Oh, it's so much silt at the bottom, and you can see it kind of just being very can't seeable anymore. And if we lift up, yeah, you're not seeing in that, but that'll clear up and it'll all get trapped underneath. It'll be good to go, and we should be good. No, do not eat that. But besides the fact, that's where we're gonna end out today's video. Again, we'll be tweaking it and playing with different things to get things how we exactly want it. But yeah, this is pretty much done. But I thank you all for stopping by. If you did enjoy, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and if you haven't subscribed yet. And yeah, there's a lot more pet and fish room stuff to go, but we're almost done. We got to get the rack for the 10 gallons up, and we have to rack these 55s, and the fish room's done. So if you did enjoy, make sure to come back next time, and I'll see you in the next video.